What's up, fam? How y'all doing? It's Hump Day, the Hump Day edition of TSC Unleashed. We in the building. Big ups to the family that's joining us in the live stream. Big ups to you, Brian, Gundam, Purple Queen, Views. Big up to the rest of the family. Thank y'all for supporting the TSC Unleashed stream. Big ups to you, JT. I'm Big Q, your host, and my co-host in TSC Unleashed is Uncle Mozzie. How you doing, Uncle Mozzie?
I am doing so awesome today. How are you guys doing today? I've been waiting to have this conversation for a couple days now. How you guys doing?
Well, we doing good, buddy. Everything's good, man, and we're gonna give an opportunity. And like I said, we're gonna cover some news on this. We got some NBA news. We're gonna recap the Lakers and Nuggets matchup last night. We also have some NBA news we're gonna talk about today, as well as the a lot of injury news going on, a lot of different type of news. We're going to cover several NFL stories after our NBA news for the summation of this show. So thank you for joining us on TSC Unleashed. And we're going to get going with the first subject coming into this one. Uncle Mozzie was talking mess to me in the pre-show meeting about the Denver Nuggets. And of course, I asked him a serious question. Say, listen, I'm going to give you an opportunity to get up off of that Nuggets bandwagon, because they're going to go as far as they can go with this here. They're not going to the finals. I told Uncle Mozzie there. He told me he got a crystal ball and that I was 100% wrong, and he's going to ride with Denver. I gave him an opportunity. He didn't want to get off the train. So I guess he just gonna have to stay on there as they gonna the Denver Chicken McNuggets are gonna fall off. Well, anyway, 114 to 106 in the matchup in this one. The Denver Nuggets came back. They had a pretty good outing in this matchup. Although the Lakers did get close, but the Nuggets were able to push out with a 30. Well, the Lakers put 31 up in the fourth and tried to make a go of it, but they couldn't get close enough. Looking at the numbers for this matchup, 28 points for Jamal Murray on 10 of 17 shooting from the field, 4 of 8 from downtown, 4 of 7 from the field. 28 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds for Jamal Murray, man. He's really developing into something, and it's crazy enough. But I just want to tell y'all a little bit about Pelican history. Number one, Dale DeCimp Demps, who was the general manager of the Pelicans some years ago, had an opportunity to draft this kid, and it came between him and Buddy Hield. He chose Buddy Hield, who we ultimately end up shipping out to get DeMarcus Cousins, and we all know how that went. We glad that guy's not the general manager. Just a little background on that. This guy is lighting it up for the Denver Nuggets. What a hell of a player he's turned into. 26 points for Grant in 34 minutes, 7-11 from the field, 2 of 5 from downtown, 10 of 12 from the free throw line. He also had 10 rebounds and 5 assists. He had 34 minutes. He had 26 points and 3 rebounds. Jokic, 22 points in 37 minutes, 9 of 14 from the field. He had 10 rebounds and 5 assists in the matchup, 14 off the bench from Monty Morris in 20 minutes of action. As the Denver Nuggets, man, they look pretty good. On the Lakers side of things, just the two guys scoring, they need a little help. 30 points from LeBron in a triple-double affair. 30 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds for King James. 27 points for Anthony Davis in 43 minutes of action. Even though AD, he was off from 4, really struggled from downtown in the matchup. 27 and 2 rebounds for AD in the matchup. 12 points for KCP and 11 off the bench for Kyle Kuzma. But Danny Green wasn't there. JaVale McGee had scored 4, but no real help anywhere else. 9 points for Rajon Rondo as the Nuggets take game number 3, series 2-1. Mozzie, now's your chance to talk your mess.
Well, first off, what we gonna do? I know you the boss around here. I understand your name is on the plaque, Big Q. I get all that, man. But I'm gonna have to make a request around here. I no longer need you to do my guys' stats. So like, you don't need to do the stats for the Nuggets because y'all only gonna hate on them anyway. And I see how you try to put a evil twist or spin on my people. See, because y'all told me that LeBron was the GOAT. Y'all told me LeBron was the GOAT, AD the best big man in basketball, yada yada, whoop-de-woo, right? So why is it that when my team shellacks these people, figure out a way game 2 to turn the boat around, then come down and just hand them the ass in game 3? Why is it always they need some more scoring and a pedestrian outing for this one? And no, man, look, it had nothing to do with that. Denver put the brakes on these people, and Murray and the Joker went over. Purely, plainly, simply put. That's all this was. Now, I've been telling y'all about this, right? I've been telling y'all about this for quite some time. Y'all laughed at me in the beginning of these playoffs when I told y'all Denver was going to be there because they had to go through LA and beat the Clippers. And y'all thought I was out my body and mind when I told y'all that. But I told y'all that. Now I'm telling y'all this again. I'm going to go ahead on and say that the Lakers don't win but one more game. I'm thinking it's going to go 6. I'm thinking Denver going to come walk this down and finish this series all 4-2. But it can possibly go 7. I don't know what game everybody else has been watching, but the game I've been seeing is a progressively better Denver Nuggets basketball team from game 1 when they got beat by 8 to game 2 when we all know Anthony Davis shot that wing in the press from the wing over the outstretched arm of the Joker to seal that victory. But Denver came back in that game and had a monstrous second half to take the lead and eventually be in position to win the game. If it wasn't for, although be it a beautiful three-pointer, it was a wing and a prayer. We all know that. So let's not pretend, make believe that these people, the Lakers, know how to beat the Nuggets and they just got it in the bag. Because out of 3 games, I saw Denver play really bad the first game after coming off of a grueling 7-game campaign, finishing off the Clippers while the Lakers were at home resting, right? They came out, yes, they did lose. Game 2, they figured that shit out. Game 3, they handed it to them. So let's not pretend like Denver doesn't belong there. They do belong there. To your point, we do need a third option. To my point, I believe that third option is Michael Porter Jr. Now, with that being said, we'll see exactly what these people are made of tomorrow, because it's my belief that Denver will even the series up tomorrow. And I also believe that by next Wednesday, we'll be singing the praises of Jokic and Murray as they await the finals to start to face either Boston or Miami, which I'm still pulling for Boston in that one, by the way. But like, we're not going to sit here and pretend that Denver has no clue in the late. No, Denver played really good basketball yesterday, and they beat them. They beat these people. Denver played really good basketball Sunday. It just so happens AD just threw a shot up, wailed it, and it is what it is. But the Lakers have been outplayed the last, I'm going to say, the Lakers have been outplayed the last 5.5 quarters by this Denver Nuggets team. And I don't see an ending in sight. They got a foothold on them tomorrow. They're going to continue to put their foot in their necks when they come back and beat them tomorrow, tie that series up 2-2. And then we'll be looking for Murray and Jokic to hoist that Western Conference Championship trophy next Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know the TV schedule, but whenever it is, you can look for the Joker and Murray to hold that up. And I'm looking for my Denver Nuggets to play my Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals this year.
All right, you heard Uncle Mazip gave him opportunity to speak. Now it's my turn to counter what he says. Now, number one, I recognize Michael Porter as a talent. Too bad Coach Malone doesn't give enough minutes. They need 3 scorers and 3 really solid players, not hot and cold running water. Porter's talented, but he is inconsistent. Gary Harris is inconsistent, and they really need a third. They need a third option. Mm-hmm. I think this will be. I even said the last show that I wouldn't be surprised if Denver wins this game. And I expect this series to go 6 games. I don't anticipate 7 games because the Lakers have something that those other 2 teams, talking about Utah, talking about the Clippers, don't have, and that's killer instinct. To speak about the point about Anthony Davis, I've seen Anthony Davis make that shot that you said, a lucky shot, a dozen times in his career as a Pelican player. Let me just tell you something. Anthony Davis can knock that. Anthony Davis can knock that shot down. That big game shot. He's done it several times, at least a dozen times I know that I've personally seen in his time as a New Orleans Pelicans player. So listen, he's talented. There is nobody that the Nuggets that can match up on Anthony Davis to slow him down and stop him. There's nothing that the Nuggets have that can slow down and stop LeBron. And it's all a matter of LeBron and AD getting on the same page with the rest of the team and them doing what they need to do. I think the party ends with Denver in 6 games. I don't see them going into the finals. I appreciate that. I gave you an opportunity to get off that boat because it's a sinking boat. But you acting like the captain of the Titanic. We must go down with the ship.
That's it.
And the only time you must
I'm playing the cello. I'm playing the cello right there.
Well,
it's a pleasure playing with you. That's me.
Yeah, you and Victor Newman sitting up there.
That's me. Hey, you know what they told me? My dad told me one time, say, man, listen, if you see me and a bear fighting, save the bear. Don't worry about me. Same thing I'm telling you about this Denver team. We don't need nobody's sympathy. We don't need none of that. You see, when you see, look, go save the dolphins trapped in the tuna fish net. Go save the whales. We don't need saving. We good over here, homie. We beat these people game 2. He whaled a shot. We, you know what? We let that go. We definitively beat these people game 3, and now it's still some kind of excuse. But let me wrap your head around this one. The Denver Nuggets outplayed the Lakers in game 3, right? More than the Lakers played them in games 1 and 2 combined. That's what that Denver Nuggets team did last night. They really outplayed them on Sunday. They just got, hey, I'm not going to say they got cheat, beat it, whatever, but it is what it is. AD hit the shot. I don't think AD can hit that shot again under that. I mean, out of 10 times, AD may hit it once or twice. So I understand what everybody's saying, but I'm taking that with a grain of salt, and I'm still sticking with Denver to the death. I got a Sharpie. I wish we had a camera because I just took a Sharpie and marked the side of my neck right where I want the axe to come down should my head have to get axed off. Other than that, I'm riding or dying with my Denver Nuggets.
I got you, bro, and I appreciate that level of dedication. Trust me, I do. The mere fact that you have faith in the Denver Nuggets, you wouldn't need that Sharpie to mark the side of your neck because your neck wouldn't get cut because the Nuggets are going to do what your prediction do, which is ultimately means end up getting to the finals. All right, Uncle Mozzie, that's what it's talking about. That's what's up, man. The man he has morals. He has a high character, and he also has a very high opinion of the Denver Nuggets, who I'm going to be calling the Denver McNuggets after they get cooked in this series. All right, let's move on to the next matchup of another favorite team of Uncle Mozzie that'll be playing on Hump Day. This is coming on tonight at 7:30 Central Time. The Celtics and the Heat. Right now, the series is 2-1 being led by the Miami Heat. This is a really close series, a really excellent series of coaches, both of these guys, Coach Spoelstra. And what I like about both these coaches, man, is the fact that these guys are tacticians, they're strategists. And this is why I believe this series is going to go 7 games. The Celtics, we'll see what they're made of. Will they allow the Heat, who has killer instinct, to push this series to 3 games, 3-1? The Celtics, this is a must-win for the Celtics to even this series up again. Uncle Mozzie, you like the Celtics. You also like the Heat. You said you've been on the record saying that this series is too close to call. Who takes game number 4 tonight?
The Celtics. Well, what are we doing? Was there another option? Did I miss something?
Well, I'm quoting you saying that the series is too close to call, so I guess it's not too close to call. You taking the Celtics, you say?
Oh, no, we clearly see that. Hey, listen, all we were waiting for was Walker to come around. Walker, Texas Ranger. Kemba Walker, Texas Ranger had to come around. Now that he's come around and he's back, playing his thing and smart, like I told you, smart as that X Factor guy. As long as he's over 20 and we got Kemba Walker Ranger doing what he's supposed to do, we good to go. Boston tonight, baby, by 10.
Boston by 10, says Uncle Mozzie in the matchup there. Celtics evening it up. We'll see, man, because listen, the Celtics got to have this game. They can't afford to let the Heat go 3-1. They're too good of a team to just let you rear back in it. Celtics have to even this series up. We'll see. It's tonight at 7:30 Central Time. All right, moving into the NFL. Let's talk a little NFL there, Uncle Mozzie. The Chargers, man, they had a situation going on with Tyrod Taylor in his lung, punctured by a team doctor. I was checking the report to see if the team doctor's name was Misty Suri, the chump we used to have down here as a doctor for the Pelicans, but it wasn't. So this was interesting. The Chargers team doctor accidentally punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung just before kickoff Sunday while trying to administrate a pain-killing injection to the quarterback's cracked ribs. Question number one, if you're Tyrod Taylor and you have cracked ribs, why the hell are you playing with cracked ribs? That's number one. You know, that's insane. You should not be playing with cracked ribs, dude. I'm saying, come on, man.
It's
But
real.
Crack ribs, bro.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, I'm telling you, it's COVID out here. He on his last contract. I'd be playing with cracked ribs, broken ankles, sprained neck, everything.
Cracked ribs. Cracked ribs. He took a hell of a risk. He took a hell of a risk with them cracked ribs, and now he's dealing with cracked ribs and a punctured lung. Because that's what the doctor did, according to team sources. It says that's the reason why Taylor did not play Sunday. Herbert unexpectedly got the opportunity to go. He also explains why Chargers coach Anthony Lynn strongly backed Taylor on Sunday night again this week. Coaches believe that no player should lose his job to injury. Boy, that's an old school sentiment, especially one that accidentally came at the hands of a team doctor. The Chargers previously said Taylor suffered complications from an injection. He was trying to hide it. NFL Players Association investigating the medical mishap, according to the Players Association, where their executive director of external affairs. And they're saying our medical and legal teams have been in touch with Tyrod and his agent since Saturday, collecting the facts, and the investigation has been initiated. The injection that Taylor received is not entirely uncommon, but it carries a risk because a doctor injects without seeing where the needle is going. Still, it is rare that a player suffers a punctured lung from an injection, especially right after the kickoff. Taylor suffered 2 cracked ribs early during the Chargers' Week 1 win over the Bengals, but he didn't have an MRI on the injury until later that week. Taylor was added to the Chargers injury report with a rib injury Friday, but after he was a full participant in practice that day, the quarterback was removed from the report. He planned to take a pain injection for the rib injury. Man, that's still it's cracked ribs, dude. But after the Chargers doctor punctured his lung, Taylor wound up in the hospital Sunday night to be treated for the injury, and they saying that he struggles. He had bad breathing. He was having problems breathing. Doctors have advised Taylor not to play indefinitely. Lynn said Monday that if Tyrod's 100%, he's our quarterback. This is lunacy to me, man. This is not the big tough guy, and I played linebacker. I know about linebacker. This guy got he got cracked ribs that he playing with. He got a pain injection that punctured his lung, and the coach is sitting up here talking about, man, listen, if he 100%, he can go. And report said he had problems breathing. You think it's going to heal on the field when those linebackers coming at him and squashing them back there? You think that's going to help? This is absolute lunacy. You need to put this man on the injury list, man, with cracked ribs. I would not let him play, man. I will protect my player. This is a bad idea. Mazzy, what your thought is?
And this is why San Diego hasn't been to the dance in 25 years. Since Stan Diego Humphries and Nayshawn Means. Even with LaDainian Tomlinson, even with Drew Brees, even with Phillip Rivers, even with Arsenio Gates, even with all these people and all the talent they've had over the last 20 years, they haven't gone anything further than the AFC Championship. This is why. It's a joke. It's not that they don't have the talent. It's not that they don't have the ability or the coaching. They make really, really crazy moves, really weird moves that nobody agrees with, but everybody kind of go with. Because for a while, the AFC West was kind of up for grabs, so they made it work. They made it look like they made themselves look like a much better run organization than they actually were. And I think if you go back to the draft, what was 2002 when Eli came in, I think he and his dad realized that, and at that very moment, they knew I was not going to San Diego. And he said what was then considered to be facetious or overly entitled. He said out of his own mouth, I am going to play in the NFL, but it will not be for the San Diego Chargers. It'll be for the New York Football Giants. And we all thought he was kind of facetious and crazy and overzealous, just a bunch of different, any bad adjective or derogatory adjective you can think about regarding personality. That's what we looked at. But upon further review, when you look at all of the people that San Diego has had over the last 20 years, still not ever making it to the big dance in a weakened division, in a weakened conference, I just don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this, but I do think that Tyrod needs to have make his own mind up and say, well, listen, this may not be the ideal situation for me, and even if I happen to be a journeyman, like a backup for the rest of my career, that's better than having to live with the pain of broken or cracked ribs or broken up bones or whatever comes with the territory. He has absolutely no regard for his body, and the team should have it. When the player shows no regard, the team should definitely step up and say, hey, this isn't going to work. We want you here for the long haul, and there won't be any hole. It'll be a U-hole if you keep going your stupid ass out there and getting cracked in your ribs every day.
Yeah, that's absolute lunacy to me. Quarterback, he got to sit back and throw that ball, and he got cracked ribs. The guy tried to give him a pain injection to neutralize the pain so he can throw, because he can't throw without immense pain because he got cracked ribs. And what would they think? They gonna put a flak jacket on him?
Couldn't even breathe.
I'm telling you, he couldn't breathe either. They said they gave him a shot. He needed the pain injection. And what would happen when the linebackers or the defensive linemen sacked him and laid on him? I mean, the last several years, Tyrod Taylor has not been able to fulfill a full season of play. His time, he does really well at first, and then he can't continue the rest of the season because he'll end up suffering and taking hits. And as he gets older, this is not going to happen. You got a lot of money, man. Chill out, man. You got cracked ribs. The guy punctured your lung. You still trying to talk about playing on the field? Man, that's a bad idea, man. Chill out, man. Sit down somewhere. All right, let's move on to the next thing, man, and talk about a legend, man, who passed away. Chicago Bears Hall of Fame running back Gale Sayers passed away at the age of 77. Sayers considered one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. And despite a career cut short by knee issues, he died at 77 after having dementia. He's known as the Kansas Comet. Sayers was voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 77 despite playing just 7 seasons. That's a lot of sevens. I'll just pay attention to numbers. It's just let me just say this, and I'm gonna keep moving on. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame at 77, right? In 1977, he died at the age of 77, and let's see, let me put one more to it. Despite playing 7 seasons, so let me get this right, and I'm stuck on the numbers. He died at 77. He was put in the Hall of Fame at 1977, and he played 7 seasons. You see all them sevens there? You think that's a coincidence?
That's pretty weak. We need a numerologist to come on the show and explain that and break that down. They gotta have a bigger meaning behind that. That's just not a coincidence.
And then check it out. At 30, and guess what age he made it into the Hall of Fame at, Mozzie? 34. 34. 3 plus 4? 7. That's too much.
That's crazy.
Okay, let's keep it moving, man. All those who love the game of football mourn the loss of one of the greatest to ever play the game with a passing of Chicago's legends. Gale Sayers, Hall of Fame president and CEO David Baker said in a statement, he was the very essence of a team player, quiet, unassuming, always ready to compliment a teammate for a key block. Gale was an extraordinary man who overcame a great deal of adversity during his NFL career and life. Goodell said in a statement, the NFL family has lost a true friend today. With the passing of Gale Sayers, Gale is one of the finest men in NFL history and one of the game's most exciting players. He was an electrifying and elusive runner who thrilled fans every time he touched the ball. He earned his place as a first ballot Hall of Famer. He was also forever remembered, Gale, for his inspiration and kindness. Gale's quiet, unassuming demeanor belayed his determination, competitiveness, and compassion. So, Mr. Gale Sayers, who died at the age of 77, was put in the Hall at 1977, who was inducted at the age of 34, which is one of the youngest to ever do it. 3 plus 4 is 7. A lot of sevens, like I said, man. That's something to be just to keep in your mind. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. Let's talk about it. Tevin Coleman, a running back for the San Francisco 49ers, is expected to miss 4 weeks. George Kittles is back at practice. So all the injuries that the Bosa, Garoppolo, who they said he should be all right. Now Coleman, they had Mostert that was down for a minute. Coleman is now feeling it. They have wide receiver issues, defensive line issues. There's a lot going on. Tevin Coleman expected to miss 4 weeks off. Falcons wide out Julio Jones further strained his hamstring in a loss which seen the Falcons fall really bad in a terrible loss to the Cowgirls. And he had a wide open touchdown he could have had, dropped it. Went on the sideline, started stretching out his hamstring like his hamstring was wrapped around his hands. That's the reason why he couldn't catch the ball. Well, Julio Jones will be out for 2 weeks with a strained hamstring issue. And of course, we know about Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey is to miss 3 games. He's being placed on the IR list, so he'll be out for at least 3 weeks of action. Okamazi, that's a lot to say with all these injuries to some big name players. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, first of all, I think it's time for Atlanta to move part ways and move on from Julio. I just think it's that time. Julio is a phenomenal player. He's been wonderful for the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, he helped them get to their Super Bowl. But at this point, it's a laughable joke, and it's becoming an epidemic. It's like every year he's out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. 1 year he was coming back from injury and he couldn't catch a touchdown for like 8 games. I don't know if you remember that one, like 8 or 9 games. Mm-hmm. He couldn't even get a tub. So it's like, is it time? How much value can you get for Julio? Where do you go? You got Matt Ryan is 10 years now in the league. I think it's time for you to blow that. I think it's time for Blank to blow that team up. You got your new stadium. You got a fan base that's kind of like LA. They're not gonna crucify you too bad if you win, because they're kind of indifferent, more of a party scene. Not really big into sports as a whole. Although the sports do mean something when they're winning, it means something to them, because that whole Atlanta vibe came alive from the advent of Deion Sanders and that whole Atlanta Dirty Birds Falcons squad that came alive in 89, 90. That's when Atlanta became the Wakanda in Mecca that it is now. And they help usher that in. So no, it's a big deal when they're winning, but when they're losing, it's kind of indifferent. And when I say indifferent, it's not that they're not fans. I just think that if they went to their fan base and was like, yo, it's time to move on from Julio, it's time to move on from Matt. We've reached our apex. We've never really recovered from that whole Super Bowl thing, and it's just time to move on.
Yeah, it's 13 years, I think, is Matty Ice been there, taking over for Michael Vick, and they've had highs and lows, but boy, they're really catching it right now. I'm just keeping honest with you. Next, we got two more news items we're going to go over. NFL fines 5 head coaches, equaling $1.7 million worth of fines for failing to wear face coverings in the week 2. Now, the fines are consistent with the message that the league established before the start of the season, says Goodell. NFL has fined 5 head coaches and teams this week, totaling $1.7 million in fines. They violated the league's guidance on wearing face coverings during games. 49ers Kyle Shanahan, Denver Broncos Vic Fangio, Seattle's Pete Carroll, New Orleans Sean Payton, and Las Vegas Raiders John Gruden were all individually fined $100,000 each, which is a small change to these coaches. Maybe not for Vic Fangio, but the rest of those coaches who have massive contracts for failing to wear face coverings during the Week 2 matchups, as reported by ESPN. NFL Commissioner Goodell told USA Today on Tuesday that the fines are consistent with the message the league established before the start of the season. Quote, you can't let up. He said, we've got to consistently do the things that have gotten us to this place and not think, okay, things have gotten so well, so it's okay now. It's not. You've got to stay on your toes. We've got to continue to be disciplined. I wonder if Goodell could have a communication with Sean Payton about the running game and tell him to stay disciplined with that. In addition to firing the coaches, each team was also hit with a $250,000 fine. So $100K to each coach and $250,000 to each team. Boy, that's a lot of bread. The punishment was meted out a week after the NFL reminded team personnel on the sidelines about rules for wearing the face coverings during the C-19. And then, of course, this was said by Gruden, I'm doing my best. He says, I've had the virus. I'm doing my best. I'm very sensitive about it. I'm calling the plays. I apologize. If I get fined, I will have to pay the fine. More coaches and clubs expect similar punishments as the memo last week from Troy Vincent, who oversees the league football operations, was largely ignored through the weekend. Troy Vincent, what a tool that guy is. Not talking about this, but what a tool he turned out to be. I remember Troy Vincent used to be a pretty decent cornerback, but what a tool he turned out to be for Goodell outside of this issue. Mozzie, before we go on to our final issue, what your thought processes on the NFL rolling out $1.7 million in fines for week 2 for not wearing face coverings? Are you still at Mozzie? Okay, Mozzie is having issues with his phone, so let's keep it going. All right, moving on to the final story of the afternoon. Saints apparently decided to postpone their flight from Vegas after an ugly loss to the Raiders. Saints joined a popular club this week. They thought they had a rough night in Vegas that led to a delayed flight. If you ever had a rough night in Vegas, then you know how New Orleans Saints feel this week after teams lost to the Raiders on Monday night. Saints Peyton said he was frustrated with everyone that he decided to postpone the team's flight out of Sin City so they could hold an impromptu film session. According to The Athletic, the Saints were scheduled to leave Vegas at 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, but that ended up being pushed back 3 hours after Peyton decided the team needed to go over the loss as soon as possible. When all who was said and done, the Saints flight from Vegas didn't take off until 1:16 p.m. on Tuesday, and it didn't get back to New Orleans until 6:01 p.m. later on. Now, let's be honest, this isn't the first time the team had to postpone a flight due to a rough night in Vegas. It certainly won't be the last. And due to the delay, Peyton also decided to skip his weekly radio show appearance that he could start game planning for the Packers, who the Saints will be playing. The fact that Peyton decided to make everyone sit through a surprise film session shouldn't come as a huge shock, and that's because he didn't really try to hide his frustration after the team's 10-point loss following the game. Peyton said the offense has played average at best over the 2 weeks of the season. Well, guess who has full control of the offense, and who's the guy who calls the offensive plays? Guess who is the head coach / offensive coordinator guy? That's him. So he should be sitting in that goddamn thing by himself at first, because he the one that's responsible for this in large part. But I ain't gonna get into it. I'm gonna save it for later on. Not only did Drew Brees echo Peyton's comment, but he also admitted that the offense didn't seem to be on the same page yet. Are we totally in sync right now? No, we're not. Brees says via New Orleans time picking. We're not even close to what we're capable of. But hey, listen, I've been cautioning and warning people about this. Pay attention to history. Pay attention. The Saints are always slow out of the gate and usually take, I've been saying this for a long time, 3 to 4 weeks before you start seeing some semblance of that top 5, top 10 offense. You're in week number 2. So expect the next 2 weeks for it to sink. But the reality is Sean Payton has to be disciplined. Like, he needs to be wearing them face coverings. He needs to be disciplined and sticking to the running a game so that the offense of the passing game can get online. Mozzie, that's the story coming in. Yeah. Peyton holding the team up in Vegas for a 3-hour impromptu meeting. What are your thought process on that?
Well, I mean, to your point, what you said, it takes them 3-4 weeks, and here's why. Much like with any more complex activity, whether it's skateboarding or any type of power boarding or anything that requires more than just like run left or run right, run up the middle, screen pass, dink and dunk. What most people are doing. When you get into trick shots and extreme sporting, you got to practice that a lot for it to really, really work. And a lot of the times what you see with the Saints, they do it in practice, but obviously practice and game speed is a little different. So some of those tricky, devious, kind of really stretched out plays, long plays, specially designed plays that Sean Payton wants to come up with, you can't really get a real feel for those in game as you can in practice. Limited preseason, well, in this case, no preseason, which means you got to really make all of those trick shots happen, and you got to bring those. And you got to realize when you're out of practice, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do on a daily basis, not no knock on the Saints. I mean, it's just COVID. It was a situation. Those things that you did on a regular basis, those trick things and those timing routes and just different things that his offense calls for, you're not in sync to do that. And you won't be in sync to do that until you get real live NFL opponents, real live NFL bodies flying at real live 4.2, 4.3, 4.4 speeds. Then you could kind of get a feel for timing and get a feel for spots and where you're supposed to be, especially bringing in new people that you're expecting big play from, i.e. Emmanuel Sanders, i.e. Cook, who came back this year again, but didn't have a great year last year, still trying to learn a really complicated offense, coming from a system in Minnesota that was pretty much run right, run left. So it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks for this team to kind of adopt or adapt to the nuances in that offense, because that's the only way that offense works. Sean Payton's offense, like a lot of other coaches of his caliber, their offenses are all scheme-based, which means it takes a lot for a single play. There's a lot of moving parts for each and every play. And if one cog is out of the wheel, then the whole thing's going to fall apart and it's going to look like it did on Sunday. Or I'm sorry, on Monday.
Yep. I agree with that, man. The Saints got a lot of work to do. We'll see what they do on a short week. They got a quality 4 in Green Bay that has their offense hadn't had any issues scoring over 40 points a game. Defense is a bit struggling, but we'll see what happens, man. The Saints should be fine. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. Bring the running game back, Coach Payton. Bring the running game with you in this matchup. This is what you need to learn here, because had you run that ball, it is, man. I mean, it's simple, man. Keep it simple, man. The discipline is the reason. I keep saying that. What's the problem, Q? What's the problem? Why only run the ball? It takes discipline to stick to a running game. Gruden showed you he had the discipline and the stubbornness to stick to the running game. It will make you can still throw the ball off the back of the run, but establish the running game as a threat. All right, now that was the final. Go ahead, Uncle Miles.
Well, no, I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I think what we all forget is, family members, is that Drew Brees is Sean Payton's avatar. He's who Sean Payton wanted to be in the 87 lockout. He's who Sean Payton wanted to be his entire life. Now that he has his very own bunny rabbit, he gonna hug him and pet him, squeeze him, and call him George. So this is not unheard of or new. He's living his life. He's living his life through Drew Brees. So when he calls a play, and it's not Drew that's throwing the ball or commanding the offense, in his mind it's him. So everything obviously, if you're playing in a game, you're gonna call all the plays that's gonna, be for you, that's gonna be in best position for you, to make you look good, or to make you, so Drew Brees is Sean Payton on the field because he's living his life and his football NFL fantasy through Drew Brees. So that's his avatar. That's why their relationship is so good, and it's almost like a big brother, little brother, or father-son type situation, because Sean Payton is living everything that he ever wanted to do out through Drew Brees.
All right, and just a story to mention to the rest of the family base is one officer indicted by the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor killing. Kentucky grand jury on Wednesday indicted one police officer for the shooting into the neighborhood apartments, but did not move forward with charges against any officers for their role in Breonna Taylor's death. Grand jury in Louisville announced that Officer Hankinson was charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment in connection to the police raid on the night of March the 13th. Neither the grand jury nor the presiding judge elaborated on the charges. Bond was set at $15,000 for Hankinson. Attorney Ben Crump was representing Taylor's family. Very strange. He represents all of them. If you think about all of the shootings that occurred, it's one dude, and out of the millions of people out there, it's always the same attorney. Very strange. I have to research that. WNBA dedicated the season to Breonna Taylor and Say Her Name a movement before the opening of the WNBA season in July. And several other WNBA stars are behind and showing support for Breonna Taylor. And they're saying that we are dedicated this season of outstanding MNT who was murdered over 130 days ago in our home. Liberty player Lashia Carradon said in July, "This is why police need to be defunded," and all this kind of stuff. Sounds like UN talk to me, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the nation right now, man. And and it's not going to stop. And this is definitely going to be an issue moving forward. That was a huge tragedy, and something more should have been done about that. Absolutely, something more should be done. But we'll see how it shakes, man. A lot of stuff going on in this society right now that don't make much sense. It's like the rule of law done went away, and now we got a rule of chaos. We got a bunch of irresponsible people and that need to be removed. You got politicians that are losing their mind and they have mental breakdowns and lapse. These people are totally out of their minds, totally Satan driven. You know, I don't want to get all into it. I'll save it for On Cue with Big Q. But the reality is, thank you for the questions, family. Before we get ready to leave, Jeremiah Smith, good to see you in the chat as well. Big ups to the rest of the family members. Says, I'm gonna ask a few questions before we go. Big Q, who do you think they drew? He says, who do you think? He says, who do you think they'll do with Breeze in the fourth quarter? Let Taysom Hill play 2 quarters, Jameis Winston play the third quarter, and Breeze play the fourth quarter? I don't think it'll work like that, Jeremiah. I think they'll ride with Breeze, and Taysom will get a few shots in the matchup, but he was noticeably absent rep-wise in the game that occurred on Monday night. And I was looking up the information about how many snaps, just to see what he did. And according to article written by NOLA.com, Taysom Hill only played in 14 snaps and represented 23% as far as the wide receiver position go. Now, he did play on special teams and other assets, but as far as him being in the offense, 14% of the offense, I don't know what's up with that. He's a dynamic weapon. He wasn't used that much. I thought he would be used a lot more than that, being that Mike Thomas was there. So I continue to see it still playing out the same, even though Taysom will get an opportunity to get in there and make and run his Taysom Hill packages. But absolutely, it'll still be Drew Brees' show. Thanks for the question. True Lee's Animal, big ups to you. Good to see you in the chat as well. Yes, Brian will be back later on this afternoon around 4 o'clock for TSC Wednesday Saints Talk. We'll cover the interviews from Coach Payton. We'll go over some news. We'll look at all of the rep sheets and how many of these guys play, and we'll open up the phone lines as well. So I see y'all on a little later with that. Who that to you, Lee Wood? J-Rock, he says, do you think the protests NBA and NFL going to pick up even more? Absolutely, they're going to pick up. They're most certainly going to pick up. This is a narrative. I keep telling people, listen, there is a lot of injustices going on across the world right now, and the people at the top are using the struggle and the strife between the peoples and the things that are going on to fuel the fire, man. This is a common strategy. If you know anything about color revolutions, you need to research it, because they do the same thing in all these countries across the world, and they're doing it here. So, I mean, it's a great tragedy. Those people should be charged with something for doing. They went up in there. My understanding is they went up in there in the wrong house, and something should be done. Those guys should be locked up. They should be locked up. If you went in the wrong house and you shot an innocent woman down, that needs to be some justice for that, no doubt about it. But
the legislation came down. No, I was telling you, the legislation came down to ban no-knock warrants. That's the punishment. That's the remedy that they came up with.
Yes, indeed.
Isn't that something?
Yeah,
they banned no-knock warrants because no-knock warrants have been attributed to, I want to say, 122 deaths over the last 10 years. So there's a big push to eliminate no-knock warrants, because had they had to knock first, they would have been able to identify Breonna Taylor as not being the suspect or the subject of the warrant, and it may not have gone down like that, is the excuse that they gave. How about just don't go in like gangbusters, strapped, ready to shoot anything moving? How about that? That works. How about having a little resolve with a deadly weapon? You know, any of those suggestions would be fine, but I think that they're going to just move forward with to the elimination or the ban of the no-knock warrant.
Wow. Just all it took was a life for him to get there. An innocent life. I mean, she was an EMS worker. We'll see, man. I'm going to investigate this even further, man. We're going to cover this on Cue with Big Q, but very sad, man.
On Cue with Big Q. I will be in the building this time. I will not get left out or be silenced or not heard, family members, just to let y'all know. I will be there. I will, if I have to sleep over by the studio, I will be on Cue with Big Q this time. I will not miss nothing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right. It's good for you to let the public know that. Now you're committed to it. So All right, let's keep it going to the next chat. Thanks for that question there. Appreciate the question there. Brother J-Rock, rest in peace to Gail Sayers. Much love to Brother J-Rock, Brother Jerry, Brother Lee, Brother Brian. Kai the Great says need to run lap more, let the boy loose. Joe Gidry, what up? Joe says it's been a little minute dealing with internet issues in Lake Charles. Much love and blessings to you, Joe, out there in Lake Charles, my brother. And thank you for joining us. Purple Queen View says, I know dope dealers that had higher binds than that. Brian says, why do you think they're gonna invite the police officers for what they says? Why do you think they're not going to invite the police officers for what they did to Breonna's? I mean, and to a degree, listen, a lot of these people, it's not just the people on the ground. You gotta understand, the people on the ground are being trained by the people above them. And in many cases, and I don't want to get to a big spill about it because it's a sports show, you know, the reality is there are people in place at the administrative level that are helping this. They're not helping this. They're not cooling things down. They're not opening up dialogue. They're not doing the correct things that need to be done. And there's that intensity. And then there's an underlying layer to this where there's a group that's been here for over 30 years that have been in the scenes, hiding in the scenes, that have been slowly manipulating and in movement. And you see it across the world. You see the falling of people countries, and you see a lot of injustice in this country. You see these anarchist movements and the Nazi groups all over the place. This is this is done by design, man. If you're burning down buildings, your ass should be in jail, and you shouldn't be able to bail out, bind out, and then travel across the other side of the country to go somewhere else fast. It's just absolute foolishness going on, and I'm telling you, it's a larger agenda. If you really want to know what time it is, you want to figure this out, I'm gonna tell you what you do. You need to buy a book. The name of the book is called A Tragedy of Hope. It's by Carol Quigley. I've said this before. In that book, it's a whole game plan on exactly what's going on. And matter of fact, the new episode of On Cue with Big Q will be out tonight for Patreon and for our Patreon champions, and it'll cover a lot of this. Matter of fact, I'll play an interview that will let you know exactly, will put you on game so you'll witness everything. It's fire, it's on. I'm telling you, On Cue, the Big Q is done. we had to do a few more things, but it's coming out tonight. Join patreon.com/the PRO Media Network so you can listen to it. Learn this, share it with your family so you will know what time it is, so you understand how they hijacking the movements and using it to moving out. Because all this is this is written in books of how they was going to get rid of the police, and using all this stuff is in books, man. I'm telling you. Anyway, that'll do it for the show of On Cue with Big Q. Much love to all the family members that chiming in on this one. That's a great injustice with that Breonna Taylor thing. Really big, but we'll cover that on another time on Cue with Big Q.
Not situation. That's horrible.
That's absolutely a shame. But and I would say that's just terrible, man. That's absolutely terrible. Anyway, but that'll do it for the show today. Appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe out there. I'll see y'all later on Wednesday Saints Talk as we cover the Saints. And also On Cue with Big Q, I promise you to be out by the end of the day. Really powerful episode. This one is called Hidden in Plain Sight Part 2. The sequel will be out, and of course the third part will bring in Uncle Mozzie and have him assigned, and after that we'll start having On Cue with Big Q live for questions, concerns, and comments. We'll let you know all of that. That'll be in the future. So thank y'all for joining us today, and I'll see y'all later on with On Cue with the TSC Wednesday Talk. So thank you from me and Mozzie. Peace out. We'll see you later.